STEMology, the Young Scientist Survival Guide, Session 21. Welcome, STEMologists. This is STEMology with Alina Adams. I hope all of you have had a great week full of fun, productivity, and laughter. This has been a full week for me as well, as I relearned to juggle classes, work, family, and, just life in general, it seems. I don't remember school being so exhausting, but here we are. I have to be honest, it does feel good for life to have a purpose again. Clear directives make the world go round. Although luckily, we're building this community of encouragement, support, and assistance as school kicks off and we're getting into the swing of things. And just like STEMology is here to help with all the nitty-gritty things to help students be successful in all areas of their life, Supplemental Instruction, or SI, and ASM Tutoring are here to help as well. The only difference is SI and Tutoring are academic aids, but just like listening to the podcast, we all just want to see you succeed, and we're here to help in any way possible. I'm here today with the queen of SI herself, Jessica Elam. Jess is the supervisor of SI, the woman behind all the amazing benefits that SI is able to provide for students. And I'm very glad she's here to speak with all of us and give us a little more insight into what SI is and what makes it such a successful avenue for students, whether or not they're struggling in various courses. So welcome, Jess.
Hi everyone, so thank you for that introduction. A little bit more about me. I am Jessica Elam and I do go by Jess, and I am the Assistant Director for Supplemental Instruction here at UMKC, which means I get the opportunity to work with a number of amazing student leaders each semester to support RUs in their student success here on the Volker campus as well as Hospital Hill campus, and now more than ever online. Additionally, I serve as lead certified trainer for the International Center for Supplemental Instruction, which means I get the opportunity to train individuals from all over the globe on the model that started here at UMKC. That gives me the great opportunity to not only help those programs, but also take back some of the amazing things they're doing and help implement it in my program, because we're always trying to grow, develop, and change so that we best support the UMKC students.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I know you were an SI leader too a few years back, so which factors made you fall in love with the program?
Yes, I started as an SI leader at Florida Atlantic University in the fall semester of 2007, I want to say it was, and I've been a part of SI ever since. And I think for me was the community aspect. So you're going to learn as we go through this podcast, it's not just about the content, it's also about the collaboration. And that collaboration, not only that I got to see as an SI participant, but then I got to infuse and help build those connections with students that lasted even beyond their college experience. Some of my students are married now that I had when I was an SI leader in my sessions, and that's something different that you don't see in a lot of academic support, which I really admired and fell in love with and try and instill in our team here.
Those are a lot of aspects that I appreciate about SI too, and working with everybody, so many different unique people that I've learned a lot from. But my experience as an SI leader has been almost life-altering in the way that after reflecting on my first semester as an SI leader, that I decided that I had the tools and I can develop more along the way that would make me a successful podcaster in the subject of a Young Scientist Survival Guide. And I believe this method really helps students digest the information that they learned in classes that week. But not to mention, SIs are the coolest people ever, so there's that too. So the purpose of inviting Jess here today is to hear everything she has to say about the program, how to use it to your benefit as a STEM student, and most importantly, how to use SI and tutoring in the most efficient ways possible. That way you can get the most out of it. So again, Jess, it's great to see you, and I'm excited for all of our listeners to learn more about these programs. So you ready to get started?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what is SI and what is ASM tutoring?
Yeah, so the question of what is SI is a very big question. There's a lot of components. However, if we were to just do like a simple hashtag, or when I travel to train and I'm in an Uber car and they're like, what do you do? And I'm here to train on this model. And they ask that very same question. I say it's group study facilitated by a near peer. And tutoring offered here through the Department of Academic Support and Mentoring is more individual based. So that's one key difference, but they're all geared towards supporting students in their academic success in traditionally challenging courses on UMKC UMKC's campus. A good way to think about it is kind of SI being that preventative care, whereas tutoring is going to be a little bit more responsive or reactive. I have this question about, this homework problem in tutoring versus you go into SI and they're going to say, here you go, we're going to work on these problems because when I took this class, that is what I was working on and that's what I found to help me be successful.
Yes, and that's exactly been my experience in SI. Before I was a leader, I went to as many SI sessions as I could, and it was pretty crucial as I was going through those more difficult classes, as you explained. How can these programs be a tool for students?
That's a really good question. And so probably the biggest impact that these programs can have and how it can be a tool for students is the supplemental tools it provides for students. And the best way to kind of describe this is using fitness. You have someone there that's going to say, here's what we're working today, here's how we're focusing on this, and that's helping you stay healthy. That's helping you stay on top. With tutoring, it's more like that personal trainer. So you have someone there and you go in and you say, you know what, I feel like working my core, what can we do? And they're going to help you with working those elements. Both of them, though, have the ability to provide you with examples of what you can do beyond when you're with them.
Exactly. At some point, you're going to be on your own eventually. So both SI and tutoring get you to that point to where you feel comfortable doing the same exercises without kind of that hand to hold. How long has SI been around and where did the program first roll out?
SI actually began here at UMKC in 1973. In 1963 and prior to that, we were a private institution, as some of you I'm sure know, and then we joined in 1963 the University of Missouri system. And when we opened enrollment, the university saw an increase in a need of support because we were seeing more students than we'd ever seen before. We weren't keeping up with how to effectively support them. And so it actually was created by a student at UMKC, a PhD student, but a UMKC student nonetheless. Her name was Deanna Martin, and she basically took a pulse on what programs around the globe at like Ivy League institutions were doing to support students and developed the SI program.
See, that's a really cool way that science helps people, those case studies or those really large longitudinal studies to kind of see, the different aspects and what works best for students. And so she utilized those tools and was able to create a very long-lasting, amazing program that's still put in many schools across the country today. Do you know how many schools in the U.S. use it?
We have trained, so the International Center has trained over 4,000, 5,000 individuals from roughly 1,500 different institutions across the U.S. That's not counting our international partners. So we have individuals who do the work that we do in South Africa, Australia, Canada, Sweden, and so they also have their own set.
Wow, that's amazing. It's spread pretty far. Like it started off at UMKC in 1973, you said, and then from there kind of took off and it's now being utilized around the world, which kind of proves that it works if so many different countries and different schools are using it.
Exactly. Even when I was an SI leader, I would say they're not going to pay to expand a program like this if it's not showing to be successful. It's not have lasted this long and gone as far if it hasn't shown to be help students be successful.
So what are the plans for SI going forward at UMKC?
We've been developing new and innovative ways to do this SI thing. And an online platform and a hybrid platform, we're going to see that reflected in our campus programming, but we're also training folks on that. And so with that, we have a wider reach than we've ever had before because we're doing some of these trainings online. And so even after COVID, the goal is to continue that process.
Okay. You mentioned our hybrid structure. Can you explain some of that?
Yeah, so in the fall semester, we'll be piloting a hybrid SI structure for quite a bit of courses. And this is to help us keep within regulation of the CDC. So rooms are only going to be able to hold a certain number of individuals. Additionally, there are going to be some students who, aren't traveling to campus as regularly and wouldn't be able to access the service. So some of our sessions will be offered in a hybrid format where you could join online or in person, and in some instances will be required to attend online if the room has hit capacity. That is the way we're keeping folks safe because SI is voluntary. We don't ever want to turn a student away and say, sorry, you were too late, we reached capacity. That isn't what SI is about. SI is open to everyone, and we want to continue to be open to everyone. So if we happen to reach a room capacity in one of our in-person sessions, you could then access that service in a hybrid fashion online.
So that kind of leads into my next question then. What are, if there are any, differences between the in-person and online sessions?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's one we get quite a lot here at the International Center. And as far as how we approach it, there's not a lot of difference in between the two. So it's planned, it's proactive. You're going to go in there, you're going to work through the content and activities that was created by the SI leader. However, due to the fact that there is some lag time in online, breakout rooms and things like that just take a little bit longer, whereas in an in-person session you can say, okay, you all are going to work on this problem here. It just takes a little bit more time, although you're still going to get a robust amount of information, and then you'll always get a takeaway or something that you're able to do on your own as well.
It sounds like students are still going to get a lot out of it though, so it's still worth it. Even if you are used to going through 3 or 4 questions, getting those 2 or 3 really good questions in, it's still worth it to go and to put your best foot forward. So what is the structure of an SI session? What can students expect when they walk in or log in?
Or Zoom in, yeah. They can expect that there'll be a plan. There will be some method to the madness, and they can know what that plan is and what's going to be gone over by checking their email regularly prior to the session, because the leaders are going to send and say, hey, here, we're working on X, Y, or Z today. And maybe you're feeling good about X, Y, or Z, and you're wanting to look at A, B, and C. So that might be something that you go to tutoring for. Go in and they'll have activities planned to actively engage you in that content in a way that help them be successful in that course. There'll be a nice little opener kind of eased in, so it's not just like, bam, here's problems, and then there'll be some problems and some meaty work done, and then just to make sure as a final check for understanding, there'll be a little closer to take you out. That's the same structure for in-person and online.
Yeah, so it seems like no matter what time you go, even though you should be on time, there's going to be something in there for you to learn. There's going to be some type of material that's going to help you get to your goal of understanding the overall concept of the day.
Exactly.
You mentioned that SI leaders are experienced in that class. So how are these SI leaders and tutors chosen, and why are they the ones that students should accept this guidance from?
Yeah, very good. So any UMKC student who's taken the course and done well in the course here at UMKC is eligible to apply, but we do a wide variety of things throughout the hiring process to make sure we're selecting the most desirable candidate. One of those includes faculty recommendations. So we will go to the faculty members and we will first and foremost ask, do you have any individuals that you would be interested in working with as your SI leader? So if you're interested in being an SI leader, really cultivating those robust relationships with your faculty is going to be helpful there, because that's creating that connection not only to the class but to that faculty. So because SI is planned, having the SI leader having taken the class and done well is a vital component, because again, they're able to infuse their experience, the way they were successful, into how they approach planning and executing the sessions for you as students currently enrolled. Additionally, they need to be doing well in their other classes because they're model students, and so we would also be looking at their cumulative GPA and things like that.
Absolutely.
We do a robust interview process, so that way we're able to make sure we're hiring folks that have the ability to engage students, because SI is voluntary. We want to make sure that they're able to get you going, effective at leading a group. And then finally, it requires a lot of balancing of many things, more so than a normal student schedule or even a normal student employee schedule.
Absolutely. Those organization and time management skills are really put to the test as an SI leader. What are these classes that have SIs, and how are they chosen?
For a complete list, you can go to our website. The main way we target the courses is we are looking for what we would call gatekeeper or prerequisite courses that students just have to take. So they might not even be necessarily interested in the class, but it's a required class. Generally large lectures. And then the big piece is that traditionally difficult or academically rigorous, and we identify that by looking at something we call the DFW rates, which is the DFs or withdrawal rates, so basically non-successful completion. If you see an SI leader in a class, that means that it has been identified as a challenging class. Even if you feel like it's not going to be, there is results that show previous semesters of students have not done well in that class. So therefore, it would behoove you to not follow in their footsteps and utilize the service. So that's a big piece as we look at things called DFW rates, but also the size of the course enrollment, whether it be multi-section or all-in-one, is another thing that we look at.
So would you say that you should only go to SI if you're performing poorly?
It's a very good point. No, SI is open to all humans. So SI targets a class, not students. And then once it's in a class, that means anybody can go, and you should go at any point. Students who attend that are, trying to push that B to an A see as much benefit as somebody who is struggling with the course and struggling to keep their head above water.
Do you think you get more benefit from it the more often you attend?
Yes. Results show that students who attend regularly, which we would identify as at least once every other week, earn on average a half to a whole letter grade higher and are retained. They persist. So persistence means you enroll semester after semester at a higher rate, and you also are retained to graduation at a higher rate.
And do you think you would be able to find a tutor for any class that you're having issues with or not having issues with outside of what's available by SI program?
Yeah, so there are courses that are supported by the tutoring program that SI is not in because maybe it doesn't hit those markers, or we haven't seen high enough attendance in SI. And so we hire a lot of amazing tutors each semester that have the ability to support really any course that they've taken. And so even if it's not something that's advertised as being supported in the tutoring center, oftentimes if you show up, they'll find a support for you. That's what the Department of Academic Support and Mentoring is all about.
And that's a critical assessment and advantage. So take that as you will and use it to get whatever grade that you'd like to be or maintain whichever grade that you have. How would a student who's interested in attending SI sessions prepare?
That is a really great question. SI is a space where you go and you're putting in the work. And this makes sense in so many other aspects of our life, except classwork for some reason or studying. Is we kind of just want to learn through osmosis. But if you think about anything you learn to do, so let's say that's playing an instrument or learning a sport, you have to put in the practice. And SI is where you put that practice in. In order to put practice in during the session to help hone those skills, you have to look at the material ahead of time. It's not going to be where you come in and you get taught the content. If you want to do that, you watch a crash course. Look, SI is where you're meant to put the action in because that's where the learning happens. For instance, if you were trying to learn how to slam dunk, you're not going to watch Michael Jordan on a YouTube video explain how you do it. You're going to try and do it yourself and get there.
And it's very important to remember that SI leaders are not lecturers. We are not your professor. It's more that we are facilitating avenues and introducing you to new ways of thinking about the material, because maybe it didn't click the first time, or maybe just having it explained or reintroduced will help students. But yeah, we're not gonna re-lecture because we don't get paid to do that, honestly, and it would not be beneficial to anybody. So we're really here just to give you the materials and the tools that we have to help you going forward.
So you're going to want to go knowing that you're going to put in work, and the SI leader is going to pair you up with students, and being comfortable and able to communicate and knowing that it's okay to not be right. Like, don't be scared that if you're in a group talking about something that you're just now learning, that you aren't going to have the ability to contribute something there. And if you are wrong, there's a leader there to help clean it up and make sure it's okay.
Super cool. It's important to have an open mind, and keep in mind that if you go to an in-person session, you're going to be up and moving. It's not kind of static where you just sit in the back and try to absorb information. It's a lot more active than that. So if a student loved attending sessions, how can they continue that love forward into maybe their application into becoming an SI leader?
That's a really good question. And so we hire the semester prior to. We hired for this fall semester last spring, and so we will hire for spring this fall. Generally around midway through the semester, we'll start recruiting via email, or we'll ask SI leaders to make announcements. We'll post things around campus on our website and all of that. We do have an open application, although we do seek recommendations from faculty. So anybody can apply. We would welcome anybody to apply.
I know when I decided to become an SI leader, I had an idea of which course I was interested in, and then more specifically a professor that I knew I would enjoy working with. Like Jess said, just keep in mind with goals going forward if you're interested in becoming an SI leader, which I would definitely recommend. I've had an excellent experience. There was so much information in this episode, and if students have any more questions for you, where do you think they should reach out?
They can reach out to me via my email, which is elamjm@umkc.edu. If they're on campus, campus, they can feel free to stop by the Atterbury Student Success Center. I will be here in room 213. I'm always happy to welcome visitors.
I'm so glad to have the opportunity to continue working with you this semester and have kind of a front row seat as you continue to build this amazing program within our campus and internationally, as we learned today. So SI is very lucky to have you, Jess. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. In the next episode of Stemology, Camilla Aponte, a senior at UMKC and someone I look up to for her strength, determination, and compassion for her community, will be here to discuss volunteering. We will explore the importance of being active in your community, where to find these opportunities, the significant positive impact volunteering has, and provide a detailed list of ways to get involved here in Kansas City, Missouri. Don't forget to share and subscribe. You can reach me at stemologyYSSG@gmail.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at stemologyYSSG. And there's so many different ways to support the Stemology podcast. Leave a review on your favorite episodes so that your fellow students know that you love to listen. Thank you for listening to our 21st episode of Stemology, a Young Scientist Survival Guide. Tune in with me, Alina Adams, for episode 22, Volunteering with Camilla Aponte. See you next time.